And a 10 long neck. According to comments I've seen on these videos along with my own, it looks like this may be my mutant counterpart. I really don't know why you people were so obsessed with my neck when I first started, both on this channel and our sister channel, but I guess I am long neck. Before the events of M-Day, William Hanover was a mutant with a slightly longer neck than normal. He was a student at Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters and helped Cyclops oppose Zorn's rampage. You had a long neck and you were admitted to the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters? Okay. He first appeared in New X-Men number 140 in June 2003, and there is no other information about him. His power was legit having a long neck, and that's it. Kinda sad, really. I guess Candace from Phineas and Ferb should also be on this list. And at 9, Skin. Angelo Espinosa was born in Los Angeles. His girlfriend became a gang member, which put a strain on their relationship, obviously. And one night, his girlfriend and her friends picked up Angelo for a drive, which turned into a drive-by shooting. The stress of this event caused his powers to manifest. He passed out, and when he woke up, the car was on fire and his girlfriend was gone. A homeless man was trying to steal Angelo's wallet while he was unconscious, but Angelo woke up and fled from the car. As he did, the car exploded, killing the homeless man with the wallet on him. The only way they could identify the homeless man was by using that wallet, so Angelo was declared deceased. His power is one of the most absurd I've ever seen. Aside from sounding like a Wizards of Waverly Place spell, you know, Humanos by Espinosa, Espinosa had gained an extra 6 feet or so of skin that he can use to extend limbs like a restricted Mr. Fantastic. Skin was later found crucified on the grounds of the school along with other mutants, and despite Archangel's new healing ability, he wasn't able to save him. But like, come on, 6 feet of extra skin? That's dumb. And Innate Maggot. This one has to be the most confusing of the bunch. The kid known as Japeth, if I even said that right, was tortured by terrible stomach pains and required special food. He was told by doctors that his pains were caused by cancer, so in an effort to save his family money on medical treatment, he left his small African village at 12 years old to commit suicide. He ended up being found by Magneto, who helped him uncover the true nature of his pain. 2 slug-like creatures that lived in the boy's guts that acted like his digestive system. After Magneto got revenge for Maggot's father's death, Maggot was horrified by his actions and didn't join Magneto's cause. Sometime later, he ended up seeking out Magneto in an attempt to get him to help Maggot master his power, his slugs. He had named them Eenie and Meanie, and they work as his digestive tract, meaning he will essentially vomit them out and let them hunt. They will find food, eat it, and then return to Maggot, giving him all the nutrients from that food after he's like swallowed them back up. Since Maggot cannot eat proper food on his own. Yeah. It's weird, gross, and disgusting, but oh well. That's why it deserves to be on this list. And at 7, Ugly John. What kind of name is this? Ugly John? What kind of rude as hell kind of rude ass name is that? I mean, sure, his only ability is having 3 faces that aren't all appealing to look at, but do you really need to put that in a name? You know what? I'm changing his name. My headcanon will forever be just John. You know what? Let's change it right now, alright? And at number 7, John. There. That's better. This guy got captured by the Wild Sentinels and was critically injured, and he was killed by Cyclops in an attempt to end his suffering. Because of the pain, or because of the faces? And at 6, Glob Herman. Look, trained mercenaries or villains know where to shoot or stab you. Some trained individuals know where to stab you to make it look like you're dead but not actually kill you. But it's a general rule of thumb, you know, shoot to kill, aim to thrill, or aim for the head and right in the chest. Well, what if you had transparent skin so the villains knew exactly where to put each bullet or knife to avoid your bones? Well, there you have Glob Herman's power. His real name being Robert Herman, he probably took one of those memes that's like your stripper name is the color of your shirt and the last dessert you ate, but it was like your superhero name is the last thing you wrote on backwards plus your last name. And boom! Blog backwards Herman was born. Blog backwards is Glob, so. And at 5, Gold Balls. Fabio Medina was a mutant whose powers manifested after the war between the Avengers and X-Men. After he was the victim of a robbery, his powers manifested. Powers that include the ability to produce gold balls from any part of his body. These balls can also vary in size. They emit a poink sound every time they hit a surface and seem to be able to bounce. If that's not weird enough, it was later discovered that the balls that Fabio produces are in fact unfertilized eggs. I'm assuming human eggs because, you know, he's a human, but he's also a male, so it confuses me. He currently goes by Egg after joining the Five, where he helps Kuroko revive dead mutants. I'm assuming he's using these human eggs he produces. A giant human egg flying at you, do you know how terrifying that would be? Does it still have 32 chromosomes? Would a normal-sized swimmer be able to fertilize it? So many hard-hitting questions. And at 4, Zeitgeist. Look, puking is never fun, especially not after binge drinking. But while it may feel like acid in your throat, the stomach acid doesn't really burn through any non-organic material. Well, imagine vomit that may actually end up being able to digest corn. Well, let me introduce you to Zeitgeist, the most common mutant right now because he looks like he's wearing a surgical mask and we all need to be wearing one right now. He would have nightmares about a makeout session gone wrong after he ended up spewing acid vomit on a girl's face during a drunken day at the beach. Yikes, that'll definitely be a downer on your first date. She survived, but the face burn left Axel Clooney wondering if the nightmares would stop if he remembered her name. You ain't remembering her name, buddy. Well, sure, he may have been the leader of the Ecstatics, this is still such a dumb power to have. When I saw the guy with acid spit in Sky High get classified as a hero, I'm like, what the f***, why? How is acid spit a heroic ability? Sure, super strength, I get it, but acid spit? It's more of a hero support power. This also goes to show that nobody other than the public cares about damages superheroes cause. He literally started burning through the skull and he's like, hero! Getting close to the end at number 3, Blob. Fred Duke's power manifested when he reached puberty. His major weaknesses were the same as most humans. Short temper, lack of foresight, lack of intelligence, and easily manipulated self-esteem, something all humans have. He was depowered in House of M, but before this Blob's blubber was impenetrable. Even Wolverine's claws couldn't slice the dice. He's gone by the aliases of Frederick, Fatso, Tubby, Big Man, Brainless Lumox, and Horseman of Bounty. I'm not like your normal horseman. I'm a load of blubber. He's a rescue. I'm not savable. And at 2, Choir. Irina Clayton is one of the students at the Xavier Institute who assisted then acting headmistress Jean Grey fight against the invading force of Sublime's U-Men. She first appeared in New X-Men number 112 and had her final appearance in the New X-Men number 150, being depowered due to M-Day. During her 3 years as a mutant, she had not 1, not 2, but 3 extra mouths on her neck. These powers enabled her to become the superhero version of Jeff Dunham, using these mouths to talk without moving her lips, thus confusing and disorienting her enemies. Having extra mouths on your neck? Are you kidding me? Confusing your enemies by talking without moving your lips. Really? That's freaking ridiculous. Like, how? Finally, in at number 1, Jazz. There is little to say about Jazz's mutant ability. His superpower, thanks to his mutation, is that he is blue. Yep. John Xander's dream was to be a rapper, but he wasn't very good. While in Mutant Town, he was a drug runner for one of the local crime lords who was selling Toad Juice, a drug made from the secretions of a mutant called Toad Boy. Even Toad Boy is more useful than Jazz. His only ability other than being blue is his ability to rap at a mediocre level. Same. This guy is nothing special, but what makes me mad about all of this is, and it should make you mad too, is the fact that he kept his powers after M-Day. Yeah, the mutant tag who can decide elections one handshake loses his powers because he isn't useful enough, but the blue-skinned Eminem ripoff is able to keep his powers? No, not even powers, blue skin. He's probably as mad as I am about it, and you should be mad about it too. If he knows about it, that is.
Number 10, Sonic Flight. Even with Sean Cassidy's accepted superhuman vocal stamina, this ability appears to be an odd one that doesn't really make a ton of sense. Banshee can produce a sonic scream, which he can use as a form of sonar, to injure those he fights with in battle and to shield himself or others, or disorient his enemies. Sure, that makes sense, but he also uses his sonic scream to fly, which would make sense if he were just using the ability to say, you know, fly up to the second story of a building. But he has used this ability to fly longer distances as well, like over the ocean and stuff. However, in order to remain altitude and stay in the air, he has to keep screaming. So wait, how does he breathe? Well, we know he has enhanced vocal stamina, but this still doesn't really explain long trips. The answer is that he uses a winged gliding suit that allows him the time he needs to apparently breathe. However, without his winged gliding suit, his sonic flight powers would be pretty much useless. So yeah, kind of a weird ability. Number 9, tentacles. Tentacles. Not to say that tentacles are inherently bad, by the way, they aren't, but what they are is kinda random, especially in this case. The tentacles I wanted to talk about here were Callisto's random tentacles. Callisto never really had tentacles until the early 2000s, but where did they come from? After all, she was introduced in the 1980s without them, and they just kinda seemed to appear one day. Mask was to blame for this alteration to Callisto's look, though she still had her famous eye patch at the time. She's never lost that, by the way. Mask gave Callisto tentacles to torment her. After he was defeated once more, she decided to actually keep them instead of be changed back. Not because they were useful, but because she refused to bargain with Mask anymore, so She just decided to accept them. She was like, I'm cool with these tentacles. The super weird thing is, although they were not a mutation of her own, they still disappeared along with her powers during the events of M-Day. Huh? Number 8. Superpower manipulation. This is one that people can't seem to wrap their heads around because, well, it's just too overpowered, and why Hope Summers isn't utilized in the comics as often as someone of her power level could be, or maybe should be depending on your opinion. Superpower manipulation is a weird one because it basically isn't a power that has any inherent weaknesses attached to it. You can do whatever you need to with that power. The possibilities are pretty much endless. In giving Hope this power, they created something virtually undefeatable, but when we read comics, the struggle is what we usually most enjoy exploring and reading about. So from a writer and storyteller context, this makes Hope's power a hard one to feature and use in comics, which is why you might notice stories that involve her don't usually focus on her insane power set. Number 7. Unlimited magics. I feel like people often forget that Illyana Rasputin's real mutant power is teleportation. She's a teleporter. And yet we all get more wrapped up in her magical abilities, her soul sword. Magik actually only has such powerful magical abilities because she was kidnapped by Belasco when she was very little, which is pretty weird. Just because she was tied to Limbo through her teleportation powers, where Limbo is basically a stepping stone for her while teleporting, she now just has unlimited magical power? Huh? Also, that whole story of Belasco kidnapping young Illyana, basically torturing her, and yet admiring and cherishing her as his protege all at the same time is just pretty odd and nonsensical to begin with. Number 6. Flaming prehensile tongue. Toad has all sorts of odd abilities, but one of the most bizarre and odd by far is his prehensile tongue. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but Amanda, he's Toad. Sticky prehensile tongue should make sense for any amphibian-based mutants. But what about when we decide to make it flaming? Yeah, I know, right? That's weird. That was an update that Toad's tongue saw in the comics. Why? I guess because it looks cool. But his tongue was already not a super useful power to have, and adding flames, it doesn't really make it any more useful. Does make it look cooler though, I guess.
Do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
Number 5. Eggs. There's a few occurrences of this with mutants. Angel Salvador has this ability due to her insect physiology. It doesn't really do much as a power for her, it's just part of the way that she reproduces. Though it is pretty creepy and a little gross. But then again, so is most stuff involving the creation of new life, am I right? One of the other now remarkably famous mutants who have had this weird ability? Gold Balls, who now actually goes by the name Egg. He actually changed his code name due to the revelation regarding his powers. Originally, we just thought Gold Balls emitted gold bouncy balls out of his body, which seemed pretty odd and well, kinda useless. But then we realized in the events of Dawn of X that these gold balls were actually infertile eggs, which is also kinda useless. Unless, that is, you have the other 4 insanely powerful members of the mutant group known as the Five around you. When matched up with Elixir, Tempest, Hope Summers, and Proteus, Egg's abilities revealed themselves as being mighty useful, as together the 5 can combine their power sets in order to resurrect any of their fallen comrades. Still weird, but also kinda now amazing? Number 4. Aviation. The power of aviation through non-telekinetic means, that is. Most mutants that can naturally fly usually have this power as a result of a physical mutation. Some are simply granted wings, like Angel or Pixie, who otherwise find themselves looking like a standard human exteriorly, but some find themselves with a full-on bird-like mutation, like Beak. Beak's aviation mutation, depending on the artist, can leave him looking pretty all-out freaky. He's either drawn like a full-on bird person, or sometimes like a hybrid bird-human. His aviation mutation barely even gives him flight abilities as well. He isn't great at flying, but he can manage to do it for very short distances if he really tries. So why does he look like a bird then? It's not really useful. Number 3. Hollow bones. Speaking of flight-related mutations, one common trait that you'll see presented as a power or a perk is hollow bones. Angel and Beak both have hollow bones. What it's supposed to help with in regards to those mutants is help them accomplish the ability to fly. And I mean, usually it does by making them significantly lighter, but also hollow bones sound like something terrible to have in the midst of a battle. Somehow Angel has been presented as being very durable, despite the fact that his hollow bones have to exist in order for his flight powers to work and make sense. But if his bones are hollow, then shouldn't punches from foes with super strength cripple the poor original X-Men team member? Like what?
My only regret is that I have bonitis.
Number 2, become ice cream. So far we've only seen this very specific mutant power once, and only in one single issue, and not even an issue of X-Men either, but instead Obnoxio, the clown's own series. One issue series. The mutant who possessed this ability? Ice Cream. Yeah, I'm not kidding. I know, a very original name. Ice Cream. Ice Cream used his abilities to infiltrate the X-Mansion, planning to put an end to the super team because their abilities made him feel ridiculous by comparison. I mean, I don't blame him. How he expected to accomplish this, however, with his power set being so useless, well, I have no idea. Number 1, Love Eyes. In all new Dupe, we gotta learn even more about Dupe's capabilities. Well, we don't really know what Dupe is still exactly. He has been a member of the X-Men, and hasn't been confirmed either way in regards to his mutant status, or, well, any other status for that matter. We don't know if he's an alien, or if he was made in a lab, or what's really going on with him. None of it's really fully been confirmed. What we do know is that he has a slew of insanely powerful and ridiculously cartoonish abilities. One such ability is Love Eyes, which seems to have no real specific purpose. Kitty Pryde suspected that he was using his love eyes to try and enchant her, casting a love spell on her, but Dupe claimed that they're just how he shows affection. Ineffective love spell or just a weird quirk. Either way, they're pretty irrational.
Kicking off the list at number 10, we have Multiple Man. James Madrox. He made his first comic book appearance in Giant Size Fantastic Four, issue 4, and right off the bat, he seems very soft-spoken, he seems very gentle. I mean, the Thing is yelling at him and he's literally like, "Why do you reject me? Why?" Like, he's so almost poetic in a way. And then when the Thing goes to clobber him, bam, there's multiple more men. Now, he wasn't used very much in the X-Men, but he spent most of his days with X-Factor. But this guy is underrated. His powers may seem kind of weak compared to somebody like Jean Grey, but these duplicates can each make a duplicate.
Let me try something. I'm Mr. Meeseeks. Look at me. I'm Mr. Meeseeks. I'm Mr. Meeseeks. Look at me. Hi.
At one point, this guy had 40 of him running around town. 40. Now, the duplicates think, they feel, and they act independently, but they're guided by the original James Madrox. In a way, they're guided. They kind of know what to do. Each of these duplicates manifests one aspect of James' personality, and the longer the time away, the more those traits become extreme. And if one of these duplicates passed away, he can sense that the general area where the body is, which is like the saddest radar ever. This guy could take over the world if he wanted. It would be like that scene from The Matrix, but with more monologues probably. And before we go on to this list of X-Men you probably wouldn't expect to be that powerful, guys, if you want to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, just right there, just give it a little tap tap, and it helps our studio out quite a bit. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get back to the list. Lickety split. Number 9, Darwin. We saw this next mutant for a hot minute in X-Men First Class. He was played by Eddie Gathegi, who unfortunately didn't survive too long. See, he threw his life down on the line in order to protect his fellow X-Men. And this was still in the early days too. What a champ. He first showed up in the comics in 2005 with X-Men Deadly Genesis issue 2. Armando Munoz looked a lot different than we saw on screen as well. Since he was 4 years old, he was bald, his arms were super long, and his eyes were changing. He sure looks a little bit different than the young, handsome actor that we saw in the movie. His ability comes in handy a lot actually, more so in the X-Men movies. See, in the comics, he's practically immortal. His ability once allowed him to survive Hela's death touch. I mean, it's a little bit different than the last time we saw him, that's for sure. Number 8, Caliban. An albino mutant and former member of the Morlocks, Caliban made his first comic book appearance in Uncanny X-Men 148. So he has the ability to track down any mutant. He actually sacrifices himself in the movie Logan, where Stephen Merchant played him. He was also in X-Men Apocalypse for a bit too, played by a different actor. He was played by Tomas Lamarcus. He was originally, I have to talk about this poor kid, okay. Strongest X-Men you wouldn't expect? Yeah, that is for sure Bailey Hoskins. The only appearance of this kid is in the 2016 miniseries X-Men, Worst X-Man Ever, which is a pretty cruel name. He was a student at Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, and his power is pretty spectacular. He can self-detonate, he can make himself explode, and you would never expect it just by looking at him. I mean, come on. He reminds me of Hogarth from the Iron Giant. He's such a cute kid. thing is, he can only use this fantastic ability once. And his last issue in the comics was X-Men Worst X-Man Ever, issue 5. Kicking off the list at number 10, we have Mimic. Calvin Rankin came into comics in X-Men 19. He was the son of a scientist, and when he was just a child, he knocked over a beaker filled with this experimental chemicals, okay? Now this red gas emerged and he inhaled it, so now he has this amazing ability where he can mimic anybody else's powers. They just have to be standing close by. Now the team at first is trying to take him down, but they're failing, of course, as he's just adapting to their every move. So while this ability does sound like one of the best, it kind of just depends on who's near you. I mean, he's not too powerful, but he is, if you're the one that's powerful that's near him. See what I mean? So if you're hanging out with Mimic, he may that he wished that that was the case after what's about to happen. So he has this neat ability where people just don't survive being close to him. They kind of explode. It's pretty gross. And he hears it from the guy in that poster himself. He hears it from Wolverine when he finds him ducking out in a cave. So what happened was when he hit puberty, he developed a specific mutation that radiates a series of toxins and acid-like poisons. So it wipes out any organic tissue in its way. It turns it into vapor. So the number of people that he ended up taking out that day was a whopping 265. And you thought he was just another blonde-haired teen heartthrob. Think again. Number 8, El Guapo. This next one, I don't think I would even notice this mutant if he was standing right in front of my very eyes. Meet Robbie Rodriguez. He was the stuntman for X-Statix, the movie. Now he saved the team from Sharon Ginsburg. She attacked because she blamed X-Statix for the amputation of her wings. So in comes Robbie Rodriguez with his sentient skateboard to save the day. That's right, sentient skateboard, you heard me. He has no real powers himself, but he has this symbiotic skateboard that acts along with his mental commands, even subconscious thoughts sometimes. So the skateboard once beat him up for cheating on his girlfriend. So next time you see a dude at the skate park, just double check and see if it's Robbie Rodriguez, because you never know. Number 7, Anarchist. Gross. But we also meet Tyke Alucard in this. So he said he doesn't want to go and give away all his secrets, but he's got something going on with his sweat. It's like acid. He can secrete acid from the pores of his body, and if there's enough of it, say that when he's fighting bad guys, it becomes this form of energy that he's able to blast out. He would blast these acid blasts. Like, how insane is that? The guy makes acid brass knuckles. Brassed knuckles. He was a new addition to the team to replace Sluck, but they weren't a fan of him at first. They thought he was a risk, not a team player, high maintenance, and mentally unstable. Although he pulled through for the team at the end of the day. Number 6, Cypher. Douglas Ramsey came around with comics with New Mutants issue 13. Now he believes that language is power. And when we first meet him, he's a smart dude in a vest. He's got nice hair. He's talking about deciphering codes. We wouldn't expect too much from him. Maybe he's their guy in the chair. Other chair. Now Douglas is actually quite powerful. His ability allows him to communicate with any species. Written or spoken language doesn't make a difference. Doug's got your back, whatever language that is. He can also extend this ability to decipher codes and complex equations, leaving him a pretty powerful asset to any team. Number 5, Eye-Boy. Trevor Hawkins, again, one of those mutants where you can probably guess his mutation just on his name alone. Eye-Boy is, yes, covered in eyes. 57 of them, to be exact. He made his first appearance in Wolverine and the X-Men issue 19. He was one of the new mutants that manifested their power after the Avengers vs. X-Men war. Then he enrolled in the Jean Grey School for Higher Learning. So Eye-Boy, okay, big deal. You walk up, you poke all of his eyes out, problem solved. We've played Zelda before, we know how to defeat this guy. Wrong. He is more than meets the eyes. Trevor can of course see you coming, and though his eyes can't shoot laser beams, they do have a plethora of unique abilities. I'm talking microscopic vision, telescopic vision, X-ray vision, night vision, infrared, thermal, chemical detection, you name it, he can see it. All these eyes will see you in any sense. He can even pick up on your body language quite well. Number 4, Nature Girl. Lynn Lee made her debut in Wolverine and the X-Men Volume 2, Issue 1. And at first she seems like a regular student, just maybe with antlers. Okay. So Nature Girl can control and bond with animals, which sounds pretty peaceful if anything. Like if I could control animals, I'd spend all my time in the woods. I'd just take a flute and I'd have a great time. Maybe even pack a lunch. It'd be lovely. With her powers, she can of course do that, but also go further. She can connect to the natural world and control all of nature. Living beings, plants, weather, the very geology of the earth. Whatever the case is, she can control it. She can talk to plant lives as well. So if there's any plants that need some watering in your apartment, she'll let you know. And if Nature Girl needs to make a quick escape and there were no birds around to control, she herself can fly only for a limited time. Number 3, Gold Balls. Fabio Medina made his comic book debut in X-Men Volume 3, but it wasn't until issue 11 that we got to meet Gold Balls. His powers came to be after somebody tried to rob him, then all of a sudden he started to generate these spheres, these gold balls, out of every part of his body, and whenever these bouncy gold balls hit something, they would make a boink sound, which ought to be pretty annoying just as it is. So these gold balls were not made of gold, rather they were produced from infertile eggs.
Hourman. Now, I'm sure we can all name a handful of heroes of super strength, but some heroes just aren't lucky enough to be born with it or just haven't been under the right circumstances to gain them. However, in the DC universe, there is actually a pill that you can take to make yourself stronger, faster, more durable, and just more adaptable for exactly 1 hour called Miraclo. Put a little more scientifically, the active ingredient in Miraclo is a special form of phosphorus, which bonds temporarily with the ATP in muscle cells to create an adenosine quad phosphate, which energizes the cells. With this pill, the vigilante known as Hourman was able to fight crime. Now, there have been 2 men that have taken up the Hourman mantle, so let's just briefly go over both of them. Rex Tyler was the original Hourman and the scientist who actually created Miraclo. He used it to fight against crime during the Golden Age. Despite being an average human in every way, he was able to fight alongside the Justice Society and the freedom fighters thanks to this drug. And then his son Richard Tyler took up the mantle after his father's retirement, taking the Miraclo pills against his father's wishes in order to save Rex and then his fellow Justice Society members as well. Now, despite his strength, Hourman was never anything close to the powerhouse like Superman. Honestly, he wasn't even ever the strongest member of his own team, but he sure could throw a punch in that 1 hour window, and that is why he's on this list today. Check him out for yourself in his first appearance in 1940's Adventure Comics number 48. Number 9. Tanga. A pretty obscure character in the DC universe, so don't feel too bad if you're not familiar with her. Tanga is a cosmic being whose only real goal is to search for simple pleasures throughout the cosmos, which is just super wholesome, and I love it. She was introduced to us in the comic miniseries Real Worlds by Kevin Maguire, and though she talks about having met Lobo and other members of the Green Lantern Corps before, we've never actually seen the character interact with anyone else, making us wonder if she's just making it all up. Although we don't know much about her abilities or powers, in terms of raw power, she certainly deserves her spot on this list today. When we first met her, she starts out as the guardian of the planet Chimera, and spends her time defeating monsters to protect the people there. She doesn't know her own strength though, which means she lacks the fine control necessary to master her powers, whatever they may be. Check her out for yourself in her first appearance in 2011's Weird Worlds Volume 2, Number 1. Number 8. Ultra Boy. In the far future of the 30th and 31st century, young heroes from around the universe banded together to form the Legion of Superheroes. We know about members like Cosmic Boy, Lightning Lad, Saturn Girl, and Brainiac 5, but when the team needs some muscle, they call upon Jonah of Rimbor, more commonly known as the superhero powerhouse Ultra Boy. Out of all the Legionnaires with all their different powers, he is one of the strongest characters on the team. While many of these characters use the natural abilities of the race to protect the citizens of the United Planets, Ultra Boy received his powers from exposure to radiation thanks to prolonged exposure to an energy beast. He has been shown to have all the same abilities as Superman, but he is so low on this list today because he can only use one of those powers at a time. He has the strength to rival the Man of Steel himself, but given the limitation of his abilities, Ultra Boy has a huge weakness. However, despite this, he remains one of the most useful members of the team. Check out Ultra Boy for yourself in his first appearance in 1962's Superboy number 98. Number 7. Loose Cannon. Back in the early 1990s, DC Comics used the Bloodlines crossover as an excuse to create a ton of new superheroes and villains. These new bloods were given powers when alien parasites attacked them, resulting in the creation of the superhero team the Blood Pack, and heroes like Hitman, Gunfire, and many others. Eager to have its own version of the Hulk, DC introduced the character Loose Cannon, who was a cop by the name of Eddie Walker before he gained incredible superpowers that made him seem destined for the spotlight. Similar to the Hulk, Eddie takes on a massive form when he gets angry. However, unlike his counterpart, Loose Cannon has several stages to its transformation. When he initially gets angry, his skin turns blue, but as he gets madder, it changes color. The next stage is purple, followed by red, until finally his skin is completely ghost white to match the white, hot rage he feels inside. In his most powerful form, Loose Cannon becomes uncontrollable and is unable to put together a coherent thought, which is absolutely terrifying because we have seen what characters like that can do. Check out this colorful beast of a hero for yourself in his first appearance in 1993's Action Comics Annual number 5. Number 6. Damage. Were you hoping for back-to-back DC Hulk clones on this list today? Well, I hope so, because that is pretty much what Damage is. In an attempt to create its own superpowered soldiers, the military conducted tests using dark matter energy left over from the Dark Knight's Metal event. The result was Ethan Avery, who gained the ability to transform into a giant, superpowered form for exactly 1 hour. Just how strong is Damage? Well, it's been heavily implied that he is much stronger than Superman himself. Even given just 1 hour, the monster has proven able to make easy work of modern military weaponry like tanks and aircrafts, and on top of that, he has defeated the Suicide Squad, Poison Ivy, and even proved to be too much for someone like Wonder Woman to handle. After the two fought in the streets and Diana took a serious beating, she told Batman and Superman that Damage could be the strongest opponent she has ever faced, which would actually include the Man of Steel himself. Hopefully one day we get a fight between the two so we can see just how much stronger he is than Superman. Give Damage's story a read for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 2017's Dark Days of the Casting, number 1. Number 5. Atom Smasher. Now most superheroes with increased strength are disproportionately sized compared to the insane abilities that they're shown to have. Like, sure, Superman can lift an entire building over his head, but does he really look like a dude who can practically do anything he sets his mind to? Yeah, that's what I thought. Frequent Justice Society member Al Rothstein changes that up a bit because he has the ability to grow in size and can alter his density and strength directly proportional to that size, meaning if he's 60 feet tall, he is going to have the abilities a human being would have if they were that size. Even at his normal height of 7'6", Atom Smasher has been shown to be a formidable foe for anyone who crosses his path. He's capable of just plucking a jet plane out of the sky with ease, and can compete with just about any other superpowered person that comes to mind. Atom Smasher has put up a fight against the likes of Power Girl, Solomon Grundy, Martian Manhunter, Black Adam, and even fought off the Spectre once. Al also took the young hero Grant Emerson, aka the other Damage, under his wing while the kid was trying to figure out himself, and even he, with his own super strength, couldn't match up to Atom Smasher, who easily pinned him down with one hand and just straight up knocked him out. Check out Atom Smasher's ridiculous strength for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 1983's All-Star Squadron number 25. Number 4. Infinity Man. Now the identity of Infinity Man varies, but regardless of who is underneath that mask, he is always one of the most powerful warriors of the members of New Genesis. There have been at least 3 Infinity Men throughout DC Comics, the first being Astor, who passed on his powers to Drax, the older brother of Darkseid. And then the third is the primer incarnation of the character named Isaiah, who is the combined form of all of the Forever People. This most recent version of the character is one half of High Father, after the leader of New Genesis had gone to the Source Wall seeking answers for the war between him and Darkseid, and found the compassionate half of himself stripped away completely. This kinder and compassionate half is the one that became Infinity Man, and thanks to his new god physiology, he possesses basically all the abilities of Darkseid and the other new gods, and uses his powers for good. The original Infinity Man was created by the legendary Jack Kirby. Check out the original incarnations in 1971's Forever People number 1, or take a look at the New 52 Infinity Man in 2014's Infinity Man and the Forever People number 2. Number 3. Big Barda. The new gods of New Genesis and Apocalypse are some of the most powerful cosmic entities in the universe. Now they may all pale in comparison to the likes of Darkseid, but each has their own levels of strength and unique abilities. One of the most powerful among these new gods is Big Barda, who is trained at a young age to be a member and eventual leader of Darkseid's elite warriors, the Female Furies. She eventually rebelled against her controllers, escaped Apocalypse, and joined the New Genesis. Big Barda and Mr. Miracle are now married and living happily together on Earth, but that does not mean that they shy away from a fight when they have to. Over the years, Big Barda has shown herself to be one of the fiercest warriors in the DC universe, as her strength and fighting skills rival the abilities of Wonder Woman. She can overpower her former teammates and has defeated the likes of Knockout and Calabac in one-on-one combat. Her husband may be remembered as the world's greatest escape artist, but it's really Barda who holds the power in this relationship. In the past, Big Barda had served under the Justice League of America, proving that she can stand side by side with the world's greatest heroes, but sadly she dies at the hands of Infinity Man. However, at the end of Final Crisis, she is seen with a newborn Regenesis, so we're all kinda confused as to what's going on with her now. Give her story a read for yourself, starting with her first appearance all the way back in 1971's Mr. Miracle number 4. Number 2. Orion. The biological son of the villainous Darkseid, Orion is an elite level warrior and seems to be the only other new god who can actually physically harm Darkseid in any meaningful way. Representative of the constant struggle of nature and nurture, Orion struggles to control his rage and inner brutal nature, but he's still considered to be one of the greatest and most powerful allies of New Genesis. Orion also has the benefit of his Astro Harness, capable of harnessing energy directly from the source itself, that he calls the Astro Force. On multiple occasions, he is shown to be as strong as the likes of Superman and Wonder Woman, and this was further proven with the biggest achievement he has on his resume, the fact that he was actually the one who finally took out Darkseid himself. With the elimination of the New Gods in the lead up to Final Crisis, the final two members of this cosmic race of gods fought it out in the streets of Earth. Orion finally dug deep in himself and became the monster he had always tried to stop himself from being, and managed to battle Darkseid to a standstill. However, that all changed when the sun destroyed the father, and he ripped out Darkseid's heart directly out of his body in just one foul swoop. He was unfortunately killed during Final Crisis though with a Radion bullet. However, he was resurrected later on Earth alongside the rest of the New Gods. Check out Darkseid's sons for yourself in his first appearance all the way back in 1971's New Gods, number 1. And number 1, the Spectre. The most powerful being in the DC universe by far has to be the Spectre. As God's spirit of vengeance, he is blessed with all sorts of powerful magical abilities, but it's his raw strength that really sets him apart from everyone else. The power of the Spectre is so great that it actually needs a human host in order to be kept in check. Jim Corrigan, Hal Jordan, and Crispus Allen have each taken control of the spirit of vengeance in order to enact his own version of justice onto the world. Over the years, we've seen the Spectre's amazing abilities, like how he's essentially invulnerable to all physical attacks. Unless you're Batman, that one time Spectre allowed him to hurt him. That was a weird sort of storyline, I don't know. This magical entity also has the ability to take out the entire magical community in one fist fight at a time. We're talking defeating Shazam with literally just one punch to the face. He's also seen capable of wrangling the Red Lantern Avatar of Rage, known as the Butcher, with just his bare hands. His most impressive feat though would have to be the time he engaged the Anti-Monitor in hand-to-hand combat and was able to overpower him for control over all of creation. The heroes needed his power in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and he delivered in a very big way, saving all of reality from the brink. Check out this all-powerful being for yourself in its first appearance in 1940's More Fun Comics, number 52.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Wasp. Sometimes size matters. I mean, the Incredible Hulk can eat a car and then squish another car and toss it across San Francisco. That's awesome. But sometimes size doesn't necessarily matter. Janet Van Dyne may be small, but just like Ant-Man, she packs a mean punch. She made her first debut back in Tales to Astonish issue 44, and in the early 60s, she became a founding member of the Avengers, after her soon-to-be husband, Hank Pym, genetically altered her and gave her the ability to shrink down using Pym particles. She was also given biosynthetic wings implanted in her back to help her fly around while she fires bioelectric energy stings at bad guys. Donning the nickname the Wasp, she became Ant-Man's partner, and fans are excited that the release date being announced last week, we now get Ant-Man's third movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and it hits theaters February 2022. So in the MCU, Janet is finally an Avenger post-Endgame, and in Avengers issue 1, well, she was already on the roster. Number 9, Black Knight. Dane Whitman made his comic book debut in Avengers issue 48. He inherited his uncle Garrett's castle and had no idea that his uncle was the villain, the Black Knight. He found the Ebony Blade and passed its test, becoming the new Black Knight. He then decided to join the Masters of Evil like his uncle did, but he was going in undercover. He was on the good side, so he wanted to help the Avengers, but they still needed more. They didn't trust him quite enough yet. In Avengers issue 71, funny enough, titled Endgame, Dane joins the Avengers. Well, kind of. Like I said, they didn't trust him so much until he helped fight Kang the Conqueror, and then they were like, okay, he's cool, come on aboard. He's an excellent swordsmith, so much so that he's beaten the swordsmith in combat. And that sword that he uses as well grants him immunity to magical powers. Plus the dude rides a winged horse, an underrated Avenger for sure. And before we continue on with this list, if you want to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up down below, that would be super helpful. It helps us a lot, especially while we're working from home. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. Now let's bounce right back into this list. Number 8, Avenger X. Cressida made her debut in Avengers Volume 7, Issue 2. When the Avengers got help from the X-Men to track down the Stranger, Professor X helped by using Cerebro to direct them to northern Thailand, where they rescued a local woman named Cressida from the cosmic being. Now, she had this ability that could amplify the Avengers. They all got super jacked up, and even Cap said that he felt stronger. He felt like he could take on a full army. He's jumping higher, throwing 10 times harder. It's wild. When Scarlet Witch asked how she did that, she says she doesn't really know, but she feels sorry doing it. But the downside of her powers were kept hush-hush from Wanda. See, in order to empower them, she had to drain the life of everybody else in the village. And in the next issue, she was deemed an Avenger. She was given the tour, the whole thing. Welcome aboard. But meanwhile, while this is going on, at Sunshine Nursing Home, the same thing was happening to those who got the life drained from the village. Powerful team member, but maybe a little bit too dark. Number 7, Squirrel Girl. On to something a little bit more bright, let's go on to Doreen Green. She made her comic book debut in Marvel Superheroes Volume 2, Issue 8. 8 back in the early 90s. She was born with these fantastic squirrel-like abilities, tail included. She learned she could communicate with squirrels at just age 10. Now this sounds like a fairy tale so far, but don't let the tail fool you. She packs an incredible punch. For example, in an early comic, she took on Dr. Doom. In Marvel Superheroes issue 8, she bumps into Stark, gives him a run for his money in order to prove how powerful she is, and then she shows Tony her power. She jumps, she hops, she climbs all around. It's pretty impressive. Squirrels start coming in from everywhere, and then all of a sudden they're commanded to jump onto Tony. And then Dr. Doom came and interrupted the whole thing. He jammed Stark's electronics, and in order to save Tony, she sent that horde of squirrels onto the Doom ship. It was amazing. And then voila, Stark is free thanks to the insane squirrel posse. Then the squirrels get down to Doom, and then he leaves. He taps out. He's like, I don't want anything to do with this. This is way too much for me. Guy straight up ran away. Dorian later joined the US Avengers on their 2017 run. Number 6, Sandman. Believe it or not, Sandman was once an Avenger. William Baker made his comic book debut in 1963 with The Amazing Spider-Man issue 4. And yeah, sure, most of the time the Sandman is considered a villain, but that's why we have to mention this small change of heart, because even bad guys, it's possible to change. It happens. He bumped into the Thing, a similar looking guy, you know, being big and beige and big and all. So they had a little chat about life and how to use your abilities maybe for the greater good. So we started to help Spider-Man a bit here and there, and then in Avengers issue 329, Captain America announced a new Avengers team, and on that roster was Sandman. He was one of the 7 reserve members. He of course didn't last long because, well, he was a reserve member for one, and coming from the villain side already, I'm sure he wasn't too committed. How great would that have been if the good guys had a sand dude? Wouldn't that be great? We could use the sand guy. Number 5, triathlon / 3D man. Okay, 3D man / triathlon, aka Delroy Garrett Jr. He joined the team in Avengers Volume 3, issue 27. He showed up and just whooped everybody's ass. It was great. The team basically had to hire him on the spot. They had no choice. But before this, he grew up running, hence his name Triathlon. He competed in the Olympic Games and he was crushing it. That was until he tested positive for steroids. Then he got his 3 medals taken away from him. So he turned to religion, to the triune understanding, and the group's founder, Jonathan Tremont, had found a fragment of a mysterious object and used it to give Garrett the powers of 3D man, the 3D man himself. Look out. I would see a 3D man movie in 3D. God, what a ride that would be. You just don't put on the glasses and you don't see half the movie. You're like, oh, I get it. It's cool. It's cool. Number 4, US Agent. Okay, spoilers coming in hot for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. If you haven't watched it yet, pause this video, watch the entire series, and then come back and click play. It's easy. John Walker is known for being the hothead that replaces Captain America in the show and in the comics. He went as far as injecting super soldier serum into his own body, but he didn't become Steve Rogers. Instead, he killed a guy with the Captain America shield. It's kind of brutal. And by the time the show ends, the shield is back in the hands of Captain America, Sam Wilson, and Walker becomes US Agent, officially. The suit's black, so it's, you know, official and all. And in the comics, he eventually joined the ranks of the West Coast Avengers, and it feels like this is where the Avengers are going in the MCU currently. Because in the comics, when Hawkeye moved to the West Coast and set up an Avengers team there, the government wanted to put somebody official, kind of out of the superhero loop, in there just to make sure things are going smoothly. Now at this time, the Vision was also a bit of a problem, so that move made sense. So they sent in US Agent. Now with Vision being white in the MCU, I feel like they're kind of heading there. This is getting good. It's getting tricky. Number 3, Hawkeye. I have to mention Hawkeye because he's one of the 1960s Avenger recruits, and he's one of the big 6 in the MCU, and I feel like he doesn't get enough credit on screen still. Like in the comics, he becomes Goliath. It's epic. When the West Coast Avengers were assembled, Hawkeye was the leader of the team, like I said. But for a little bit, that was until they thought the US Agent would be a better replacement for leadership. So he ended up coming in and then taking over as the new leader. So things get a little wonky. So Hawkeye thought, no sweat. I'll get some Pym particles and we'll see who the biggest guy is after all. And then he became this. Number 2, the Sentry. He made his first appearance in Sentry issue 1. Meet Robert Reynolds. He was a struggling addict who made his way into a laboratory and discovered something called the Golden Sentry Serum. So he consumed it, and then he got the surprise of a lifetime when he was given the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns. So back in 1947, Project Sentry was put together by the remnants of the US Operation Rebirth and Canada's Department K. They joined forces and they wanted to recreate the super soldier serum, but they magnified its effects 100,000 times. That plus a cool outfit in the mix, and now we have a new superhero. So after this, Robert fought alongside the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and of course, the New Avengers. He's a really powerful guy. He once became a Horseman of Apocalypse. He was the Horseman Death. And then he ended up going crazy because he thought he was the heir of Apocalypse. It was a whole thing. It was crazy. And finally, number 1, Hercules. Of course, we can't forget the son of Zeus. Come on, the king of the Olympian gods, another 60s recruit, Hercules. He made his first Silver Age appearance in Journey into Mystery Annual Issue 1 in 1965, and in Avengers Issue 45, he and the rest of the team went against the Super Adaptoid. And right after the dust had settled, Hercules was standing with the team, expressing how bright the sun doth shines. Somebody even put his name on a sign. That's how you know it's official. As soon as a 19-year-old starts painting your name on it like a Katy Perry concert, bam, you made it. So with Russell Crowe reportedly cast as Zeus in the next Thor installment, we may be closer to Hercules than we think.
Number 10, tag. We all know of the game tag. You know, tag, you're it, and then everyone just runs away. Well, my friends, welcome to Brian Cruz's life. He has the ability that allows him to make people either run away or towards a specific person or object whenever he touches them. In the comics, whenever he would use his power, he would often yell out, "Tag, you're it." I know, it's a little on the nose, but hey, I mean, the guy seems just to embrace it, and you know, you can't judge him for that. Number 9, Bailey Hoskins. Oh, Bailey, poor Bailey. You see, Bailey is a mutant that joined the X-Men. Bailey has the ability to detonate his entire body like a bomb, which, I mean, would really come in handy in a fight against other superpowered individuals. Now you're probably saying, David, if he's so powerful, why is he not a higher classification? Well, because he can only use his powers once. Yep. Just once. See, he found out he happened to have this ability because of the X-Men. Technically, he could have gone through his whole life without knowing, and you would have never been able to tell he was a mutant, but he is, and he just can't use it or he'll die. So if one day he decides to use his powers, they would actually be really effective, and knowing that he could use it at any moment could be terrifying to an enemy. It's just the one-off that, like. Number 3, Forge. Now, Forge is a really interesting one. His mutant power is being able to invent and build mechanical devices. Now, on the surface, it would seem like that's just a skill that he picked up, but no, it's his power. See, it's not like someone being able to just go up and build something with, you know, relative ease. Forge has mentioned that he can see mechanical energy. So he's able to just go up, build, design, conceive, operate technology and weapons that, you know, would otherwise take someone years and years of research to accomplish. Whereas Forge can do that in a matter of minutes. Number 2, Domino. Domino has the power of being very, very lucky. Now, she is aware of it, but you can see how someone might not have been. Some people would just assume that they just were, you know, really lucky. Like getting a job even though, you know, you didn't have the right qualifications, passing a test without studying, winning the lottery, etc. Like all that stuff. But since Domino is aware of it, she uses it to her advantage. Now, it's not like bad things can't happen to her, but depending on the scenario, it can usually go her way, and since she's aware of it, she's gotten a lot better at controlling that ability. Number 1, Ice Cream. Oh man, okay, I had no idea this guy even existed before today. Ice Cream is a mutant who has the ability to turn into any type of ice cream. And no, I'm not joking. He debuted in 1983 and has never been seen again. I'm so sorry guys, but come on. He has to be number 1. I mean, the guy's power is being able to turn into any ice cream flavor imaginable. Like, how ridiculously weird and amazing is that? In his first and only appearance, Ice Cream witnessed the X-Men in action while watching them on TV. He became jealous of them because he thought their powers were a lot cooler and then they made his look stupid. So he decided they needed to be eliminated. So he breaks into the X-Mansion, hoping no one would notice a random pile of ice cream lurking around the house. Now, the day he broke in happened to be Kitty Pryde's birthday. Xavier hired a clown for the occasion, and when Ice Cream saw the clown interacting with the X-Men in the Danger Room, he decided that he wanted to eliminate him as well. But you know, it didn't work out. They trapped him in the Danger Room and lowered the temperature so that he turned into a frozen block of ice cream. Then they decorated him like a sundae. Like, no joke, they actually did that. You know, and then he was never seen again. I honestly, I really want to know what happened to him.
Number 10, Broo. Broo is a unique mutant because of his alien heritage. He is part brood, part mutant. Broo was born with a mutation that allows him to feel compassion. So you might think that being born with compassion should not be considered a mutation or a superpower, but for the Brood race, it is. They do not normally feel such things, making them a devastatingly dangerous race when it comes to warfare. Being born with such abnormalities often results in the death of the mutated newborn, but because the population of the Brood was so low at the time, the Brood Queen actually allowed Broo to live, though he was abandoned, sadly. While his mutant ability might not seem strong in the conventional way, it makes him remarkably unique. Add in his genius intellect and you have both a fascinating and powerful mutant. Number 9. Aaliyah Bishop. Aaliyah is the daughter of Mutant Bishop from the alternate reality of Earth 41001. In that reality, Bishop and the Shi'ar Deathbird fell in love and had a child together, and this child was Aaliyah. We first meet Aaliyah in the comics traveling around space on the Starjammer spaceship. While she is mutant, we have yet to see her mutant abilities appear in the comics. However, based on what we know of generational mutant families, it can be assumed that her powers would be in the same wheelhouse as her father's and probably be similar to his, involving some kind of energy absorption or manipulation. Regardless, even without her mutant powers, she is fairly deadly, exhibiting skills in both armed and unarmed combat. Aaliyah is a skilled fighter, something she likely inherited from both of her parents. Number 8. Zakan. Zakan is part of Kadra K, a group of Skrull mutants similar to the X-Men. Skrull mutants who fight for mutant rights and equality with the same dream as Charles Xavier. In fact, they've even fought with Charles Xavier before. Zakan is therefore not just a shapeshifter, but also possesses the mutant power of telepathy and telekinesis. She can use her mutant powers to control minds, erase memories, create illusions, and in dire situations, move objects. When she touched Rogue, it was shown that her telepathic powers were so great that she inadvertently boosted Rogue's ability to absorb memories, amplifying and mutating it. Number 7. Ultra Girl. Ultra Girl is Susanna of the Kree, or Susanna Sherman on Earth. They're spelled differently, but they sound the same. Much of her past remains a mystery. She is adopted and was raised on Earth, though the Kree kept an eye on her, as she was prophesied to bring great glory to the Kree Empire by defeating some of their greatest enemies. At least some of the greatest enemies of the pink-skinned Kree. In her own self-titled miniseries, Ultra Girl discovered that she was a mutant when a Sentinel attacked her, although at the time her powers had not yet manifested. Of her superpowers, we know that she possesses super strength, super speed, enhanced durability and agility. She also possesses a fairly strong healing factor, and like most part Kree superheroes, she can fly. Although oddly enough, flight is not a part of the inherent Kree physiology. So why so many half Kree can fly? I don't know. Number 6. Abigail Brand. We don't know where her father was from or who her mother is, but what we do know is that Abigail Brand is half alien, half human, and a mutant to boot, which she gets from her mother's side. She is known for being the tough, no-nonsense head of SWORD, an area of S.H.I.E.L.D. that is known for focusing on guarding the Earth against extraterrestrial threats. Her mutant power grants her the ability of pyrokinesis. She can heat up her hands and make contact with beings or materials, burning them or even burning through them. She can also control the level of heat that she emits. Her alien heritage also gives her a tongue that allows her to be able to speak alien languages that humans cannot. Number 5. Adam X. Adam X originally worked for Martin Strong, who gave him his name, as a hound rounding up mutants. A bloodhound. He is from Shi'ar but lost his memories about his past at some point during his time on Earth. In working for Strong, he found himself in conflict with the X-Force, who eventually convinced him to join them in taking Strong down and using his powers to defend mutants as opposed to track and catch them. Adam X's mutant powers allow him to electrically charge blood, causing his enemies to fry from the inside out. Ugh. He also has enhanced physiology due to him being a member of the Shi'ar race. Number 4. Lifeguard. Heather Cameron is half Shi'ar, half human, and all mutant. She first appeared in Extreme X-Men Volume 1, which is also the series wherein she learned of her Shi'ar heritage. Heather is originally from Australia, where she worked as a lifeguard. Her mutant powers grant her a sort of spidey sense and the powers needed to do something about that danger sense. When her life or another's is in danger, she senses it and is granted the powers needed to save that life. These powers also come with the knowledge of how to use them, so although she might not have experience with that power set, this will not hinder Lifeguard. Her codename is obviously both a nod to her profession and her power set. Her brother Davis, aka Slipstream, is also a mutant, but he was depowered following M-Day, whereas Heather was not. Still, we don't really know what she's up to now. Where did she go? Will she appear in Dawn of X? Number 3. Dupe. One of the most ridiculous and mysterious mutants, Dupe's origins are shrouded in mystery. It has been suggested that he was artificially created in a lab, or that he has either magical or cosmic origins, hailing from an alien planet or perhaps another dimension entirely. For our purpose, we are going to run with the mysterious alien heritage angle, which is plausible considering he is only able to speak in his own alien tongue. Despite not knowing what potential alien race he could belong to, we do know a lot about his power set. Dupe has the powers of resurrection, flight, has a genius intellect, can can alter his size and is capable of emitting psionic blasts. He has also shown that he is capable of using magic and breaking the fourth wall. In fact, his seeming awareness that he exists in comics allows him to also be a powerful teleporter. He can travel through space and time by moving between the margins within comics. I know, it's cool. It's a cool ability. Number 2. Sponge. Sponge is another member of the Caedra K, the Skrull mutant version of the X-Men. His powers allow him to absorb energy. He can then rechannel said energy through his body, using it to make him durable or blasting it back at his targets with concussive force. Beyond that, his powers also seem to let him absorb skills and talents as well when connected to other Skrull mutants via the member of the Caedra K, Neuro, who can tap into and link the nervous systems of his teammates through touch. So we really are talking about all kinds of crazy types of energy absorption when we're talking about Sponge. Like, it's cool if you're not a pilot and you can be like, now I know how to pilot a ship. I don't know why I did a weird voice for that. That's probably not what Sponge sounds like. But maybe it is, who knows. Number 1. Gaia. First appearing in Generation X Volume 1 Issue 37, she was found in an alternate reality in the Citadel of the Universal Amalgamator at the end of time, which was created with the intent of smooshing together all sentient beings' consciousness. Gaia was both its guardian and its prisoner, the key to activating the Amalgamator and the protector of it, defending it against it being used by evil beings. Gaia was saved by Sync and Penance and traveled through a secret warp chamber hidden in the Citadel, which coincidentally led back to their own reality. We do not know of her origins, if she was fully human or from another planet, but her galaxy was apparently destroyed as the result of her refusing to activate the Amalgamator. So sounds like she's probably alien. Gaia's powers allow her to warp reality using extra dimensional matter and energy, making her immortal, super durable, super strong, and giving her telepathic and telekinetic abilities. She spent some time as a student at Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, but eventually left to explore and experience Earth.